Okay, so Joe Capobianco, if you don't know that name, you will know it after watching this video. He is one of the giants of American tattooing. He's been a massive influence on myself over the years. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling on, but give it a watch, enjoy it, let us know what you think down below. So enjoy the video.
Okay, so we're sitting here with Joe Capobianco from Hope Gallery in America.
Yes, New Haven, Connecticut.
And you've been tattooing for how long now?
A little over 30 years. I'm not 100. It's either 30 or 31, maybe 30. I think it's 30. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I just celebrated because it was. I remember February. I just don't remember if it was 91, 92, or 93.
So what brought you to it in the first place? I mean, what was your initial inspiration?
To tattooing? It's weird. Like I didn't want to be a tattooer. I got my first tattoo at 21 with some friends. And then I went to a local shop. One of my friends that we were with bragged about how great of an artist I was. And I was a working artist, so I always had a portfolio with me and whatnot.
So what sort of art were you doing? Was it?
I started, like in high school, I started airbrushing t-shirts. Oh, you know, at the mall, you know, and I did that. And then in high school, I was tattooing denim jackets, like all the, you know, the rock bands on denim, like Maidens and, you know, Metallica and all kinds of shit. So I made a living at that at a very young age. I worked in restaurants with my dad from the age of 12 till I think 16 when I started airbrushing. And I did some work for this tattooer. He went off on his own, opened his own shop up. And he's like, oh, you should learn how to tattoo. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And I literally turned it down for like a year. And then...
Did he keep hounding you?
He kind of did. He kept in touch. And I got laid off from the day job that I had, which was a staff artist for this company designing T-shirts. And he called me up and he's like, and I just come from unemployment. And I was like, well, I'm collecting unemployment. It ain't going to kill me to apprentice. I'll give it a shot. And I wasn't invested at all. But I'm sure you know, and a lot of people know, once you get into tattooing,
kind of sucks you in.
It really does. And back then, especially because it was so, like the only way you can get into it was through magazines and actually physically going somewhere. And fuck, it was intriguing as shit. And it was like, the class of character was just different than it's different than anything now. But yeah, back then it was so different, and it just takes you by the balls and you just fucking go. You know?
Yeah. It's totally captivating. It just
really is.
And the more you give, the more it sucks you in, and the more you give to it, the more you get within it, and the more you're doing it. It's like a vortex.
Exactly. And then being an artist, like I said, I came in thinking I was going to be this hot shit tattooer. You know what I mean? Because I could fucking draw this fucking stuff and this flash on the walls, this crap, whatever. But the shop that I started in, a ton of Jack Rudy flash on the walls, Judy Parker stuff from back in the day, like just phenomenal artists. You know what I mean? And then my first week tattooing, I met Paul Booth. He was doing a guest spot there.
Oh, wow.
And I'm watching Paul do all this drawing on stuff. So Paul was one of the first big professionals who was just breaking out at the time. Yeah. And I'm watching this fucker do stuff. And I'm like, all right, I suck. I'm not the artist I think I am, you know? And again, within 6 months, I go to the first convention. We went to, not national, we did one of the tattoo tours. Right. We did the tattoo tour in Chicago, I think it was. And again, huge eye opener. Fucking Marcus Pacheco is breaking out. Aaron Kane, Guy Aitchison. Like I said, Paul Booth. There's an artist named Timothy Hoyer there. Like all these fucking, I'm getting chills thinking about it. And I'm just like,
it's just overwhelming.
Yeah, because you only ever saw the stuff in magazines. You know what I mean? And the only way you can get to see it in person is at a convention. It's not like social media where everything is on, you know, on your fucking phone.
Well, back then, and again, you had to go to it. You had to actually,
if you wanted to talk to somebody, you had to physically break out of your fucking shell and hang out and talk to this person. And it was, I mean, it's an eye opener. It's an amazing experience. I almost feel bad for the people coming into the industry now because it's so fucking watered down from what it used to be.
It's such a different world. It's homogenized and it's all become very, very similar.
Yeah.
Do you feel that we've lost a lot of those characters and a lot of that kind of thing?
Yes. Because fuck yes, it is not the world it used to be. And again, there are things in the business now that are so much better than they were, but there is so much just so much like character and just, you know, mythic proportions of the business that are never going to come back. We're never going to see them again because you cheapen everything the moment it goes digital. You know what I mean? Like even this interview, you know what I mean? It's like everything gets cheapened the nicer it becomes. I remember like working in the tattoo shop, the first shop I worked in, they had all the old Roy Boy videos on the TV, and that played on a loop. The old Tattoo Time videos with Ed Hardy, like, dude, to see these guys caught on Super 8, you know, walking around and pretending to be fucking artsy fartsy, whatever, and not Roy Boy, of course, but it was just incredible. And now, you know, you fast forward and you have, like, you know, the Tiger King, and people are like, oh my God, Tiger's so crazy. And I'm like, motherfuckers don't know shit. Back in the fucking late 80s, there was this guy named fucking Roy Boy. That guy was legit. You know what I mean? And again, seeing the video versus, you know, seeing digital, you know, it's just different. And I know it sounds old. And
so do you think that if you took yourself back, if you was that young kid now coming forward, would this world still be so attractive to you?
Fast. If I went back, like, to see it then.
Yeah. If you.
I think if I did, I think I would make it an even greater passion. You know what I mean? Like, at the time, I was trying to make a living. I was trying to learn. I was trying to, and still kind of keep my own way, you know, keep my own voice, you know, because at that time you just did whatever was on the walls. And I never understood that at the time, you know? So I always tried to, everything, like, we would trace flash off the walls. We'd never take the stencil, not in the first year, but in the second year when I moved shops, we would take the line drawing off the wall and redraw it. And I mean redraw it, like loose tracing. And that loose tracing is giving it your hand motion. You know what I mean?
Your style, that starts to develop your style.
Exactly, which is probably why I'm so bad, or why I consider myself to be so bad at traditional stuff, whether it be Japanese, American, whatever, because everything looks like I drew it. And that was something that at the time was a passion. Looking back on it, now I think it's maybe more of a hindrance, because when you have that individual thumbprint on everything, people don't see it for what it is. You know, you look at proper traditional, you can't tell who did what. You know what I mean? If a traditional tattoo is done well, you wouldn't be able to tell if it was a Mike Chambers or a fucking, you know, some dude from the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of a traditional. But the second you add your own flair to it, then it becomes, well, I don't want that. That's not traditional. But it is. It follows all the same basics, but they don't want to hear that. And that's probably the one
it's
big
the same foundations, but it's got a different structure.
Exactly.
That's what you need.
Yeah. I mean, for 20 years, I never had to worry about it. Now, it's like, it's not the same thing, because people recognize things because their fucking phone told them that's how it's supposed to be. You know, they don't think for themselves anymore.
Hey, there's almost like an overload, isn't there? There's an overload of information for people, and then they become a bit too educated.
Well, that's the thing. It's not education. It's like watching an episode of fucking Miami Ink and think you know how a tattoo is done, or watching a fucking episode of Best Ink or fucking Ink Master. You know, I can't believe I just mentioned that. But it's watching an episode of fucking Ink Master and go, well, you know, that sleeve should have been done, and why is it taking so long? Oh, go fuck yourself. It's like, you don't get educated on fucking television. Would you go to a fucking surgeon because you watch fucking General Hospital? No, you dumbass. You have to physically learn something to actually know about it. TV, video doesn't help. It may give you a foot in the pond, but it's not going to let you swim. You know, and that's the thing. I think a lot of people, it's getting lost. And the more it gets, the bigger it gets, the more we as tattooers lose complete and utter control. And I think what's happened in the business, and the thing I hate about it is a lot of these tattooers that have they're like, okay, I don't have control anymore. Fuck it. I'm just going to take it. Let them decide how the business should be run. Yeah. And that's the problem.
Yeah. You know? And that's becoming, that's general globally all over the world.
Oh, that's everywhere. That's everywhere.
Over.
One of my biggest complaints is when people come into a shop and we tell them something and they just don't listen.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know, I think I know it's supposed to go this way. And I'm like, no, that's not how it's supposed to go. This is how it goes.
When you have a client liaison, how much input do you give them? Do you just take their...
I try to educate them in the ways that I think it should be. And I honestly believe, I think when a good client, I shouldn't say every client, because I'm sure a bunch of clients have left my shop like, fuck that guy, I'm never coming back here. You know, but the ones that are smart enough to listen, I'll go, oh yeah, that makes more sense. Oh yeah, it should be at your convenience. Oh yeah, when I come in, you've always been ready for me. And I'm not saying that's not a tattoo. That's not a tattooer's way. Like I've had clients come get tattooed by me and then go someplace else and be like, yeah, dude, fuck that guy. I went in there and I had to sit around for 6 hours while he fucking drew up the piece that I gave him, you know, an email about a month ago. Yeah. That's the problem. It's like there are those guys still. So well, that's most of the guys, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you have to be good. So you mentioned there about some of the TV shows and stuff like that. That's right. You've been a judge on some of these shows?
I was a judge on a show called Best Ink. The first thing I ever did TV-wise was Miami Ink. I did an episode of Miami Ink, 2000, 2008, I think. I don't even remember, 2007. But it's funny, like, and the only reason I did it, I remember talking to a friend of mine. We were talking about television, tattoo TV, and Miami Ink. This is in the heyday, and this is like
it was huge. It was massive.
Yeah, they're crushing it. And Kat Von D was being let go, so Miami Ink is looking for someone to replace her. So they basically, I never watched the show, but they were bringing in all these guest artists.
Right.
So I get a phone call, and it's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine who owns a tattoo supply company at the time, and we were on the loading dock just shooting the shit while they're unloading a truck. And they're like, "Oh, you mean to tell me you wouldn't go on TV if they fucking asked you?" And I literally looked at it, I was like, dude, nobody's asking my fat ass to be on TV. What, are you kidding me? Whatever. And no, I wouldn't do it. Fast forward 2 weeks, I start getting phone calls from some fucking producer on Miami Ink, they say. But it's a New York number, because I'm from New York and I recognize the number. And I'm like, oh, whatever. And I just ignored it for like a month. And then I'm doing an interview with a company called Tattoo Now that used to do my website and stuff back in the day. Cool. So I'm doing this interview. They're filming me tattoo, and my phone rings. It's on silent, but I know it's ringing. So at the end of the interview, I pick it up and I listen to the message. And it's such and such from a producer from Miami Ink. I'm like, what the fuck? And I hang up the phone. And the guy in the station next to me is like, what was that? And I'm like, oh, somebody says it from fucking Miami Ink that they want me on the show, whatever. They keep calling. He's like, why didn't you answer it? And I'm like, because it's fucking bullshit, dude. It's probably some guy trying to wind me up. Like, I'm not going to answer it. And my friend Eric, he's like, fucking answer it, dude. Fucking call them back. I'm like, whatever. Call them back, and this woman answers, and she's like, oh, hold on. She puts him on the phone with some fella, and he's like, yeah, I'm such and such. I'm the executive producer here on Miami Ink, and Darren and Ami speak very highly of you, and we want you to be on the show. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? And he's just like, yeah, why? I mean, at that time, I'm almost 400 pounds. Like, I got fucking greasy hair. Like, you know, I'm like, for real. And he's like, yeah, dude, would you be willing to come down? I'm like, I guess, you know, and I went down, they flew me down to Miami. I did a week down there, did a bunch of tattoos, and they filmed, I think, they filmed all the tattoos I did, but I think only 2 of the people actually made the actual.
But then they edit it quite fast.
Oh, they edited the fucking shit out of that, dude. Yeah. It's funny because you used to have to get on set, they take a photograph of you wearing clothes, because if the tattoo took more than one session, they made you come back wearing the exact same clothes. That's why everybody assumed that when Chris Garber did a half sleeve, he did it in one session, not realizing it was done in 3 sessions over the course of 10 hours. So that was one of the first, I think, straight up lies, misconceptions of our business.
I think it created a misconception, and that whilst it was a great show and it really blew tattooing open, which in so many ways people did so well financially as a business.
I think with tattoo, with Miami Ink, what separated it from everything was it put most of the emphasis on the client. You know what I mean? And it was about the client story, which is a fucking total double-edged sword, because while it's great that the client has a story, now every fucking client needs a story. It's not just about getting a tattoo. You know what I mean? Now it's like, oh, this is my dead mother. This is for my dead dog. This is my mom's dead dog. Like, everybody's got to have a story now. So every tattoo has to have a massive meaning.
Exactly. It can't just be a great tattoo.
Exactly. And there's, like I said, most of the tattoos I have one mother tattoo. When my mom passed away, I got a tattoo for my mom. I can't imagine there's many other tattoos that I have that have any real meaning to them. Because to me, it's about collecting friends' work and just cool art, Yeah. So that was one of the things. And fast forward years later, I get a phone call from Best Ink, and they asked me to do it. And again, I'm a big fucking dude, and I'm like, I do not look like your typical television star,
Yeah.
So I was just like, they were like, originally Tattoo Now again reached out to me, and they're like, hey, this video company keeps calling us up, and they're looking for tattooers for judges for the show. Do you want us to give you, they're asking about you personally because they've seen your stuff on the site. And I'm like, no, fuck that, dude. I'm not interested. And they were like, well, just so heads up, they're looking at this guy, and this guy. And one of them is a piece of shit who I know personally. And I'm like, oh, yeah, give him my fucking number.
But this is the thing, isn't it? There's a certain responsibility that if you don't do it and you don't present the industry in the correct way,
exactly,
someone else will.
Exactly.
And then we'll get the repercussions of that.
Exactly.
Because it's just reflected back.
Exactly. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, give him my number. And literally they called like the very next day, and they're like, hey, can we set up a Skype interview? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And the Skype interview is, a blank screen on your end, and they get to see you. So I literally went in, took a shower, put on a guinea tea, and fucking did my hair up super high, and just sat in front of the TV, sat in front of the computer. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna be me. I'm not gonna fucking play act, whatever. And the interview lasted 45 minutes, and they were just like, okay, I'm pretty certain the producer's going to fucking love you. Would you be willing to fly out to California for an in-person interview? And I'm like, for real? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Whatever, dude. Like, so they flew my ass out to California. We did an interview. And they were like, all right, we're going to get back to you on the exact dates, but just get us your lawyer's information and we'll send you the contracts. I'm like, that's it. And they're like, oh no, they like you.
It's a done deal.
Yeah. And that was the thing. Like, and to their credit, like when we actually filmed, everybody's like, oh, did they make you yell at the people? I was like, you don't know me, do you? Like, I'm like, dude, I get passionate as fuck about shit. Yeah. And with the shows, it's a lot easier to be more passionate because they're just, it's put in the hands. Tattooing's been put in the hands of television producers. They know nothing about our industry. Not a fucking thing. First season, they did a blacklight thing. And I'm like, what bullshit fucking, computer or like a server are you on that they're telling you that blacklight inks are a thing? And they're like, well, wasn't it? I'm like, yeah, like fucking 10 years ago, dude. Nobody's doing blacklight inks anymore. Yeah. And they did a whole episode around that. And then it turns out Ink Master did the same thing. It was so fucked up. It's like they either had spies in each other's camps.
Just following each other.
They're literally following the same fucking, the same exact
But it's that thing, you get a format, don't you? And then you just follow that format.
The problem with TV shows.
Yeah.
There's a fucking format. Tattooing shouldn't have a fucking format. Well, now it does.
But this is the thing. It is that thing that it has. There's a set way of getting in. There's a set way of doing things. And there's no individuality anymore.
And and therein lies my fucking problem with the television shows. The difference between our show and their show was our show it was like Miami Ink. It was about the client. The clients all had stories, which is fucking, I mean, to sit through it and listen, it was like whatever. And most of them, the funny thing is ours was filmed in Hollywood. So the majority of the people that are coming in to get tattoos, they're fucking wannabe actors. So every one of those people put it on their resume. Oh, I was a skin on Best Ink. Yeah. Dude, that's not your piece of fucking meat. Like, how are you going to use that on your contract, on your resume? But they did. And so it was good. It was good and bad. And I think part of the reason, so I was told that it was rare that a network head would actually be on set. And when they came on set, like I never dialed it back. To the point where everybody's got an earpiece, and Sabina Kelly was one of the judges, and then we'd have a guest judge come in, like, and they were wannabe celebrities, shit celebrities, except for Margaret Cho. She was actually really cool. But we all had an earpiece in, and the production would tell you what they wanted you to say. And I'm just like, I'm not going to say that. And they're like, well, what are you going to say? And I'm like, well, just let me say what I want to say. And after the second bit of filming, they were just kind of like, yeah, just Joe, you go. And they would just let me, they would let me talk. And again, they edited the living shit out of that. Like originally I was trying to curb my vernacular. Yeah, and after a while, they were just like, dude, just do it. We can always beep it. We can always edit it. So, I mean, if I went off for 15 minutes, you maybe saw 15 seconds. You know what I mean? Which is shit, which is a bummer, because there were certain times where I was just like, yeah, and they would just be like, yeah, none of that's going to make the fucking television, dude. So it was kind of, that was the only thing that was kind of a bummer dealing with those types of people. But it's also probably why, first season they were trying to get us to bump certain contestants because they didn't like them. Yeah. And I'm like, no. And they're like, what do you mean no? And I'm like, yeah, they didn't do the worst tattoo. They're probably gonna go home next week, but they're not going home this week. Yeah. And they were just like, well, we want them to go home. I'm like, I really don't fucking care. Like, I'm a tattooer.
So did they give you the freedom to actually make those decisions?
In the seasons that I did, yeah. There was one or two times that I will admit that I was just kind of like, yeah, fuck it, just dump them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where they wanted somebody to go, and I said, yeah, whatever. But for the most part, we fought. Every single season, every single winner, we had, with the exception of the third season, if you've seen it, it was fucking atrocious. But the first two seasons, we had a fight. There was always an argument at the end of the day because of what production wanted and what we felt needed to go. And we won almost every single time.
So obviously there's that thing where you're making the decisions, you're doing the judging. You did the judging here yesterday and the competitions at the London show. So how do you, how easy is that? How do you find that with judging? I mean, it's quite difficult because it can be quite subjective, can't it?
Yeah, it's incredibly subjective. And again, yesterday is a perfect example. There were things that people definitely dug on that I was absolutely not into, which is fine. That's the whole point of having more than one person judging. My biggest judgment is going to be how long I think the tattoo is going to last. One of the first questions I ask is, how old is the tattoo? And the thing that's shocking to me, and I can say this now because of who you are and what it's going to be on, is how young, how new these tattoos are. And they don't look that new. They look old. So it's like, all the crazy shit you're seeing online that people are going gaga for, it's like, yeah, dude, you're going to get 3 years out of that fucking tattoo.
But there's also that other thing with stuff you see online when it's been manipulated and stuff, and you see the stuff in the flesh.
That's the frightening thing, is because look how many tattooers are getting into this now, or how many people are getting into it because they're heavily tattooed. Yeah. I mean, I've heard tattooers be like, well, dude, you've been coming here for so long and you're so heavily covered. Why don't you just apprentice?
That's all you need.
What is that?
Yeah. That's your qualification.
Yeah. How is that a qualification? It's like, no, just because I like coffee doesn't mean I should be a barista. Like, that makes no fucking sense. But that's what's happening now. You get people that are getting into it because they have such a love and they decide to cover their bodies in it. So now I might as well tattoo because I'm all shitted up with bad tattoos. You know what I mean? That's fucked up. It just makes no sense. But again, look at the size of the business. And I think now you're starting to reap that. You're starting to reap all that shit because there are just too many fucking people. I'll be one of the people to say it. And if you think I'm an asshole, I don't fucking care. You're fucking wrong. There are just too many fucking people in this business. Yeah. You know what I mean? And everything's been watered down. The classic clientele, the mentality of everybody, tattooer, client, everything's been watered down. The amount of suppliers there are, just insanity. Yeah. Absolute insanity.
Well, how do you feel about that? I mean, the sort of corporate take with the size of the business. It's a corporate takeover, isn't it?
I fucking hate it. I think it's bullshit. I mean, keep in mind, the industry used to be self-contained. It was self-regulated, with the exception of the occasional health department. You know what I mean? You made your own fucking needles. You found a machinist to build your fucking tubes. You built your own machines. Now, granted, this was before my time. I never made my own tubes. I only made a handful of needles because I got in at that time where they were making pre-mades and stuff like that. And I caught shit by my wife because my wife tattoos as well. And she used to make all my needles because her needles were killer. But the fact of the matter is, it's like it was mostly self-contained. If you found a supplier, it's because they knew a machinist. They were interested in building machines, and they could build machines. So they go out and they wrap their own coils. They did everything on their own. Now you make a fucking phone call, somebody ships in from fucking China, and boom, you're a fucking supplier. And the fact that all the needles that are coming out now, the fact that everybody's like, oh, these needles are the best. They're from the same fucking 4 factories in China. There's no difference. I mean, granted, there are differences in quality depending on what you're paying for them. But for the most part, you're getting the same fucking needles. All these different needle guys now, it's insane.
Well, it's interesting. You kind of see these things happen, don't you? They're like pivotal points. Like at the moment, it's cartridges. Everybody's selling it up, making loads and loads of cartridges. Everybody's trying to push their cartridge. Yeah. You know, like go back a few years, it's like everyone was making a rotary machine. Everyone's trying to push their rotary machine.
Exactly.
Before that, you know, so, someone's got...
No, it's always the same thing. But I think the difference between now and then is a lot of people are just following trends. Yeah. Well, what's Nico using? What's this guy using? What's that guy using? I'm going to follow that guy, as opposed to trying to figure out what you definitely like. I went back to using needles on the bar with rotaries, but more of a coil-style rotary. And I'm using needles on the bar to line with because they're fucking better. Like, no matter what you want to think, they're better. Now, granted, if you're a good tattooer, you know, and you're fully capable of doing whatever you can with those machines, or with whatever equipment you're given. A good tattooer is going to make a good tattoo.
Even with a shit machine.
Even with a shit machine.
But a shit tattooer can't make a good machine.
Exactly. No matter how expensive your equipment is. You can go out and buy the best fucking rotary. If you suck, you suck.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter. And you can see that every single day. But I think the thing that people don't realize is if you're a great tattooer and you actually find great equipment that's good for you, then it makes your job that much easier. I think that's the one thing that a lot of people don't realize. It's like, yeah, you don't realize, but you're struggling through your line work because of this. You don't realize you're struggling through your shading because of that. Where if you're actually okay with checking it, not taking every fucking sponsorship that's offered to you, like I'm not sponsored by anybody.
Have you ever been?
So technically, no. We came in before sponsorships, but I will admit, we dealt with a company called Pulse, the local tattoo supply company in Connecticut. They were all good friends. I got introduced to it by Eric Merrill, and if, anybody who knows tattooing knows who Eric Merrill is from back in the day. He introduced me to Pulse, and they were building great coil machines. They weren't great; they were good coil machines, but we were supporting a local company. Yeah, and we would go to conventions. We used all their shit. You know what I mean? And in the beginning, I would buy it, but after a while, they knew what they were like. Oh, just take it, dude. Just take it. Just take it. And we only took it because they were friends. They gave it to us because we were friends. Yeah. Nobody did it with the intentions that we were sponsored. And then somebody was like, oh, you guys are powered by Pulse. I'm like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? We're not sponsored, but it turned into this bullshit sponsorship. Like, we only used it because they were friends. You know what I mean? And it was good stuff.
Oh, that's different, isn't it? It's helping your mates out is one thing.
Exactly.
And just helping to promote your mates.
Exactly.
And if they're doing a good product, that's one thing.
Same thing with Electric Ink. Now I get all my gear from Electric Ink, And last time I was there was 2018. And Paulo, who owns Electric Ink, was just like, I'm hashtagging all of his shit while I'm there and stuff. And he goes, Joe, you don't have to do that. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, you're not sponsored. He's like, as long as you want to use my stuff, you can use my stuff. I'm going to make sure you get my stuff. But you're not sponsored. You're a friend. So that's, if anybody knows me, they know whenever I post anything about equipment, it says it's a sponsor. It's a friendship, not a sponsorship. That's a hashtag I put on everything. And I honestly believe that. I've been offered sponsorships with different needle manufacturers and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'd rather buy from the local supplier, which is what I do.
Support your local.
Exactly. I buy all my cartridges from my local supplier. I will admit, like my inks, my machines, a lot of that stuff is supplied by Electric Ink. But I would be the first one to tell you, if I had to buy it, I'd buy it in a fucking heartbeat. It's the best stuff I've ever used.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't say that about a lot of other stuff in this business.
So what about equipment and machines and stuff like that? I presume you would have started with coils and stuff like that. You probably moved to rotaries. Do you ever go back to coils? Or
I tried 4 years ago. Jimmy Litwalk was giving me a rash of shit about the fact that my line work used to be better when I was using coils, and I was like, yeah. I was also like, fucking younger, dummy. Fuck you. It's not the same. You just, as the older you get, you just don't tattoo the same. And I switched to rotaries. Actually, it was Lyle Hardy that introduced me to rotaries the first time years ago, and I switched because they were lighter and traveling as much as I was traveling, it's a lot easier to go with that. I was switching to all disposable tubes. Put a disposable tube on a fucking coil, it's hard to get used to. But I will admit, a few years ago, I got back, pulled out a bunch of coils, and I was just lining with my coils. And I will admit, I enjoyed them more, and I think it was more because of the needle on the bar versus the cartridges, which I was used to using. And within, I think, 6 months, I had never had problems with my hands. I was getting away from the coils because they were heavy, but I never had issues with my hands, and my hands started bothering me, and I freaked out. And I'm like, okay, those went away, and I pulled back out my rotaries, and I found rotaries that I can use needles on the bar with, and I absolutely fucking love them. And I occasionally I'll line with a cartridge if it's a small little banger or whatever, but 9 times out of 10 I'll set up needles on the bar because they're just fucking better in my opinion. Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that, about the physical health, because obviously to stay in the game for a long time is physically demanding, emotionally demanding, mentally demanding.
Okay, when it comes to stuff like that, I would recommend do as I say, not as I fucking do, because I am the worst possible, tutor on that. Like, I do not take care of myself. I drink entirely too much. I mean, I did well. Like, I did lose a bunch of weight. I lost a shit ton of weight a couple of years ago, and I'm slowly putting it back on. But yeah, I'm not good. Like, I'm not the right person. My back bothers me. My arm bothers me.
I mean, you're physically, you're tall as well.
Yeah, so which doesn't help. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's horrible. But I just look at it as, I'm not one of these guys that's going to complain every day about, oh, my hands hurt, oh, my back. Yeah, grow the fuck up. Like, I had a dad, like I said, I came into the restaurant business. I could have ended up there. Because if it weren't for this, I'd be cooking in the back of the kitchen. Because that's what I was good at. That's what I came in knowing, and that's most of my family did for many years. So I'm not going to complain about physical taxing and how physically taxing tattooing is. It does suck. I will admit, if you're big, lose the fucking weight, take care of your fucking self. These are all things you definitely should do. It's just like I said, do as I say, not as I fucking do, because I am the worst when it comes to that. Because I've broken into so many bad habits that it's so hard to break away from. It really is difficult. You know.
So one of the other things I want to ask about is like the style of what you do, the capo girls and stuff like that. Obviously, how does that fit in this modern PC world? That and
absolutely doesn't.
Yeah,
it absolutely doesn't.
Kind of great.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's kind of great, but it's like, it sucks because what I'm noticing now is the more you stand out, especially with social media, the more you stand out, the less likely you're going to be popular. Like, if you're not trending, and you're different, then you're fucked, because nobody's going to care about you. But
that's why we become so similar. You know, like tattoos. I mean, like black and grey realism it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
And 80% of tattooing.
Oh, dude, most of the tattoos I do at home is black and grey realism. You're never going to see photos of it because I don't want anybody to know I do that. So I do stuff at home. I'm a tattooer. Yeah. So if somebody comes in wanting a fucking Zeus head, they're getting a fucking Zeus head from me, but I'm not going to take a photo of it. I posted pictures of a gorilla with blue eyes. It was a goof, because it wasn't a lion with blue eyes. It's like a black and gray lion with blue eyes. It was a black and gray gorilla with blue eyes. So I posted it, and a bunch of people were like, oh, it's fucking killer, dude. And I'm like, it's a fucking gag. It wasn't supposed to be taken as a serious fucking tattoo online. It was me bitching about the fact that, oh, look at how horrible my career is going. I'm doing a blue-eyed fucking animal. You know what I mean? The only fucking lines I've done with blue eyes, I fucking hate them, dude.
Yeah.
You know, but it's one of those things. It's like, and the worst part is that's the crazy thing is people are like, well, where's your portfolio? And most of my portfolio is like all the stuff that I like is from fucking 10 years ago, 8 years ago. You know what I mean? Yeah. The tattoos I'm doing now, I get to do few and far between that I really dig on. Most of them are just people coming in, they want a tattoo.
It's because the fashions are changing and things.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's exactly it. I mean, and again, what I've noticed too is it's very much about your age, like how old you are in this business. And the fact is, the older you are, the less inclined young people are going to be to get tattooed.
Well, it's that thing, I guess your clientele ages with you. And like we were saying earlier, you know, if you're a young guy and you're covered in 5 years, you know, you've got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And it's that thing, once you've finished, you've tattooed all your mates around the same age, we all get to a certain point.
Exactly.
The kids ain't coming to you for Pokemon backpace.
No, exactly. They're not interested. And that's what drives you crazy because, like, you know, with this whole anime thing, it's like, yeah, dude, I dig that stuff too. But they're not going to come to you because you don't watch it. Oh, fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, so the only reason I was able to do a Tasmanian Devil back in the day is because I fucking like Warner Brothers cartoons. That is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. You either can do the tattoo or you can't do the tattoo. Yeah. Whether or not I can understand the fucking mythos behind the fucking character, it should be fucking irrelevant. You show me enough of what you want. You give me enough information about what that character is, I'll fucking figure it out. You know what I mean? I don't think you need to be that well schooled on anime. You know what I mean? To fucking to have to do it. It's fucking silly. But again, you also have a lot of these tattooers that's their fucking, that's their gatekeeping. That's their gatekeeping. Oh, he can't do anime tattoos. He doesn't watch it. I'm like, okay, whatever. First of all, the manga cartoons I watched back in the day were much better than the shit that's being produced nowadays. You know what I mean? It's fucking, it's still whatever. So don't act like what's going on today is better than Akira from back in the day. You know what I mean? So it's just fucking retarded to think that people, you can bleep that out if you want, because people freak out when you say it. But don't bleep it out, but yeah.
Burn all those bits.
Yeah, but the fact is, it's like, it's silly because people think because they're younger and you're older that you just don't get it. And they're not entirely wrong. They're not entirely wrong. But as a professional, I'm willing to put a lot of that behind. Like I've had conversations with clients that I'm just like, oh God, my brain hurts. But the fact of the matter is you both walk away with something. And that's the whole point of being a good tattooer.
Well, they educate you and you educate them.
Exactly. And that's what I think, that's why I don't have a television in my workstation. That's why music is in the background. Yeah. That's why if you want to put on a headset, you can, but I'm not going to because you've signed up for this whole fucking
whole tour. This experience. You know, I want to give you the experience.
That's what it's supposed to be about. It's not just about getting a tattoo.
No, it's not.
It's an experience.
You know, because I guess there's that fear that eventually someone will come along and there'll be some digital technology that will just go and go, there you are, there's your tattoo. Well, and then you lose all of it.
And that's why those people shouldn't be getting tattooed. Yeah. Because they don't fucking understand. It's like, that's part of the problem with fucking, I remember the first time I got to meet Philip Liu. It was my first trip to fucking Europe. And we got to meet Philip Liu. And it was like, oh my God. It was like going to see the man on the fucking mountain. You know what I mean? Nobody has that experiences anymore. And 9 times out of 10, they don't even know those experiences matter.
Or exist.
Exactly. And that's a fucking shame. That's an absolute fucking shame. If you're only coming to conventions to make money, like, you know, the funny thing I always bitch about conventions now is the fact that everybody's like, you know, man, I get to see all my friends and blah, blah, blah. Because I always complain about how bad conventions are for me and I'm not making money and this, that, and the other thing. And they're like, you know, I just want to go see my friends. And I'm like, that's great, dude. I used to do all that and make shit tons of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you can do both. You just don't know you could because you don't live in that time. And that's the shame of it. When you have this many conventions happening every fucking month, like how many conventions are going on in the world right now?
I don't know.
Probably a dozen.
In this country, probably 70.
Exactly.
Just
and that's
more than 1 a week.
That's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. And but here's the thing. There's so many fucking tattooers. There's enough to fill it.
Yeah.
Which is fucking dumb because nobody's willing to take sides. Well, you shouldn't say that. I mean, the first London convention, I'll admit, when you reached out to me the first time about it, I had in the back of my mind, well, I did Mickey's show back in the day. Maybe I shouldn't do this one. Yeah, now, I don't fucking care anymore. I mean, I shouldn't say that because I am still loyal to certain individuals. There's a lot of conventions that fucking promoter can go fuck himself. You know what I mean? I want nothing to do with them because I don't agree with anything that they're doing. I put my line in the sand, but I've opened up a little bit more about how I think. But I shit on most things with conventions nowadays. No offense.
Yeah, no, it's fine. You know? I get it. And I think that's one of the things I want to ask you. It's like when you've been doing this for so long? How do you maintain the enthusiasm? How do you maintain the drive to keep going? And I think the truth is, to an extent, none of us do. I mean, even me, it's like 30 years of publishing and magazines and stuff. It's like you do find it difficult to go. Again.
It's a fucking chore, but for me, it's more about seeing friends, being able to sit next to Elliot this whole time, running into a bunch of people that I know from back in the day, hanging out with Lau the rest of the week, hanging out with these guys. Like they're those are the little shining lights that
that make it worthwhile.
Exactly,
the nuggets.
Yeah, exactly, and that's all there is. But again, also cutting way back on that. So when it does happen, it's exciting again.
Special, yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's the thing. It's like I travel because now I'm in this whole road trip thing in the States. I'm not about conventions. If I want to see a friend, hey man, you gonna be around next week? Cool. I'm driving out. I'll be in town. You got a bed for me to crash in?
Yeah.
Cool. And I'll go see friends. And that I started doing that as COVID was starting to open up a little bit. Like the southern states by us were the first ones to open. So I left Connecticut, picked up Jimmy Litwalk, flew into Connecticut. We both got in my car. We drove down to South Carolina. We hit Virginia. We hit like 3 or 4 different states. And we did this like 10-day long road trip. And it was phenomenal. It was just us and a couple of friends. And we just had an amazing time.
Yeah, and had an amazing experience and memories.
Exactly.
And that's the thing.
And it wasn't just about tattooing. It wasn't just about making money. It was about getting out and seeing people that you wanted to spend quality time with. And I don't think enough people do that.
Yeah.
And again, I that's just me, listening to what some people say and thinking you're missing out.
So what about the painting and drawing and stuff like that? You're still painting and doing stuff like that? You're still doing
No, because they're so bitching about digital.
Well, this is the thing. It's an iPad.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about this earlier. I was complaining about the fact that I picked up an iPad because I was afraid of getting left behind. And that was about 4 years ago, I think, when it was just starting to break. I'm like, I'm not going to miss out on this. And I picked up an iPad, and for the longest time, I would do my drawings, and I was doing my line drawings in the iPad. So I was cutting down on that tracing paper thing, and it was a little bit easier when you were on the road and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now it's like, it's everything almost. I haven't painted in probably a year and a half. But I was telling Elliot when he was out to see me a few months ago that I need to start putting pencil to paper and get away from the digital aspect of things, But we were saying how difficult it is because if I need new prints made up, I can do it digitally. I can email a fucking file. I can get that file emailed back to me, and then I can say, yeah, give me 20 of these and get them in. Where
in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're going to draw it, that's going to take weeks.
Exactly. The last painting I had done, I got the prints back from a scan that I had made, and they were terrible. So I ended up having to find another printer, ship him the actual painting. And that's old school as fuck. That's what we used to do back in the day when I painted. And I have to ship him the painting. He photographed it and did this amazing print of it. And if it hadn't been from a photograph, it would have never looked as good as it was. Yeah. So it's one of those things. It's a double-edged sword. If you want the quality, then you have to pay for it, and it costs more money, and it takes more time. But if you want quality in digital, it's your pen away,
Yeah. How was the lockdown thing in America? Was that did you have it?
It was nuts. I'm sure it didn't go nearly as long as it did here or in Scotland.
Forever,
yeah, it went on forever. And it was one of those things like as soon as it happened, it's like everybody else. It's like, what the fuck? There's no way this is gonna happen. And then they shut down. And all of our clients quit within a week. And immediately I had 1 or 2 of my artists going, dude, I'm not shutting down. Like, I'm going to call my clients. And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to do the same thing. So a couple of us reached out to our clients and we were like, hey, listen, we get it. There's shit going down right now, but we're individual rooms. We're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And, if you don't like it, you don't have to come in, and we'll honor your, deposits and stuff. But a couple of us worked through the majority of it. And I'll be honest with you, with the help my shop got from the government, it's the only way we stayed open. If it hadn't been for that, we would have shut down. No bullshit. We got, the PPP and all that crap, but it was enough to keep my shop open for a fucking month. My shop is entirely too large. I should have used that as we're cutting out.
I think a lot of people reevaluated their whole lives off the back of that. And I think a lot of people did that. A lot of people took it as a chance to
looking back on it,
and
I kind of wish I had done that, but I'm entirely too thick. So
or too stubborn.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it was a time when I thought, maybe now we should stop the magazine, because print and stuff.
I'll be honest with you, man. I want to see magazines come back. Tony Ciavaro just did a new school. It's called skin paper something else. God damn, I can't remember the name of it. but he produced an actual physical magazine. It's almost like what do they call like the coffee table books? Like soft cover, square bound. Yeah, soft cover, square bound. It's fucking gorgeous. It's a physical hand me down. It's something you will never throw away. It's not like it's not like a regular magazine like from back in the day. But look how long those magazines stuck around. I had magazines in my shop from the 80s.
People have still got them.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's a keepsake that's never going to go away. Look at all the digital stuff that's online now. What happens in 20 years?
What happens in 2 days?
Exactly. Well, there's that too.
You see a photo on Instagram and you go,
it's gone. And Instagram is fucking this business. Yeah. It's fucking tattooers. It's fucking the medium in general, like any artist, because they have their finger on what people see. And again, this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is the God's honest truth. I don't think they're doing it on purpose.
The evidence is there.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing it on purpose. I don't think they're trying to keep something down, but they're just doing it so my clients don't see shit of mine anymore. They're seeing everything else. And what's happening is that's creating the trend. It's not even being, trends aren't even being created by people. One person gets a cool tattoo. Instagram realizes that people are going to kind of like that tattoo, so they put it out there. So now a tattoo that is whatever becomes the newest thing. And now all of a sudden, everybody feels they need to have that tattoo. This started with the color realism with like guys like Nico and Mike DeVries and stuff. The thing that used to drive me, and I've used this example for fucking over a decade. If you're going to go and want a Joker tattoo, like a Batman Joker tattoo, and you want Michael Keaton and fucking Jack Nicholson, you're a fucking moron. Like, there is a plethora of fucking amazing art done by incredible artists that are just so incredible, so unique that you're going to pick Michael Keaton, who looked like a fucking dildo in a fucking, like a spiked dildo in a costume, and Jack Nicholson is the Joker. But they do it because it's recognizable. And not only are you going to recognize it, everybody else is going to recognize it. And that's the fucked up thing. It's like, where's your individuality? Like, who are you? Yeah. That was one of the things, that argument I had with a young artist. When he's telling me how, who he is and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, and I'm flipping through his Instagram. I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. And he's like, what? And I'm like, dude, I can't even tell who you are. Because he's sitting there bragging about how his reels go viral and this shit. And yeah, dude, you're using trending music, using trending filters, using trending, shots. Go fuck yourself. I don't know who you are. There's no individuality there. What kind of music do you listen to? You really listen to this crap? You don't. You know what I mean? It's the only thing you listen to, watch is manga? Sure, it's not. Like, so don't, like, just because you know how the game is played doesn't make you smarter. And I guess it does, because he's probably making more money than I am. But it drives me crazy because to me, it's about being an individual. If I saw him in a room knowing who he was based on his social media, I would want absolutely nothing to do with it because there's no person there. There's no uniqueness there. There's no character there. Your character is the same as hundreds of other people because they all watch the same fucking feed. That's pathetic.
Well, you do the same thing. You do the same tattoos. You do it in the same way. You use the same equipment, and it's all just repetitious, and it becomes homogenized. Yes. And anyone, you could go to any number of tattooists and get the same tattoo.
And that's how it should be. You know what I mean? In certain aspects, like with traditional. Like one of the things I bitched about myself before was not learning traditional properly. Yeah. Like I can do a solid motherfucking tattoo, but it ain't going to look like somebody else's tattoo. Yeah. And therein lies part of the problem. But to me, the problem is not with me. It's with the fucking client. It's with all those fucking people out there that only know one way of seeing things, and that's what they're being force-fed into thinking. Where before it was all about individuality. You know as well as I do, when people went to conventions, they looked for certain fucking styles. They looked for certain individuals because that's the person they wanted to get tattooed by. Now, it's just fucking whatever's popular online, and that's what they're following now. Yeah. And you can't help but think, how long does that last? You know what I mean?
How long can it last?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly.
So where do you see the future going then?
Not in a good place.
No?
No, not unless we're... So the thing that I always bitch about tattooing is the fact that we've lost it. Like, all the big name companies have been bought up by conglomerates, okay? The conglomerates are smart enough to keep the heads of those companies in place. So all these dumbass tattooers think that they're buying from whatever company. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but there's lots of them. But they think they're still buying from those companies, not realizing it's like, dude, that guy already sold his company. You're making a board rich. I mean, granted, he made his money, but you're making a board rich at this point. So it's like, so what are you doing? Why don't you find the guy?
That money's not coming back into tattooing.
Not even a little bit. They don't give a shit. And how, now, like every other fucking corporation, where does that got to go? We want more money. So do you think the cost of equipment's going to get less? People bitch. I used to bitch and complain about buying stuff from China. Where do you think all that stuff's coming from? Okay, is something that's being manufactured in China and then put together in California somehow better because it cost $800? And again, do you think it's going to get cheaper? I mean, I remember when Cheyenne set the bar at $600 for a fucking rotary machine, knowing full well that rotary machine is a $35 piece of shit that anybody can fucking plug and play. Okay, but they set the bar at $600. So all the other guys that were selling rotary machines in the States for $300 and $400 at a reasonable markup. Okay, now they go, well, if they're selling it for $6, we should sell it for $6.
Go for $6.
So then fucking Cheyenne goes to $8, $9. FK Irons comes in. They put theirs up at $1,000. So Bishop's got to come in and do $11. And you sit there and it's like, so where does this fucking stop? Nobody comes down. Nobody's going to go backwards. Same with all these tattooers that are charging $3,000 a day. What happens when you can't get that money and you start to come down to $2,000 a day? Are all those motherfuckers that paid $3,000 a day going to be like, yo, what the fuck? Where's my grand?
Yeah.
Are you going to touch up the tattoo that you did for $3,000 for free because you just gave the same exact tattoo to this guy for $2,000 a day? Yeah. That's the thing. There's no coming down. And that's the fucking frightening part, because now you sit back and go, well, unless tattooers wake up and start supporting individuals that are either not popular enough, or the fact that all the industry, all the conglomerates have become bloated and they can't absorb anymore. So now you need to support the little guy, which is why I deal with a small supplier by me. I don't deal with the big ass suppliers. I find quality merchandise. And I can be called a hypocrite because I do deal with Electric Ink. And I've watched that company become a monster, but I deal with Electric Ink because I like their equipment and everything's being made in-house now. And I got to see that. Like the fact that I think their sharps are still technically coming from China at the moment, but everything else is being built in-house. And their rotary machines are still coming from China or Japan or Switzerland or whatever. But everything else is being made in-house. And that's impressive as fuck to see happening. Like to be walked around that factory and be like, oh my God, this place is a monster. But it's a monster owned by two guys, I think. You know?
And it stays back in, and they put back in.
Exactly.
And
I mean, the fact that you go there, I remember he started creating all these machines that are like, and this isn't me kissing Paula's ass, but they started creating machines that were made cheaper so that they can sell them even more cheaper than their high quality stuff, because they know tattooers in Brazil have no money. There's no money in Brazil. You know what I mean? They have a handful of guys that are crushing it, and money wise, but for the most part, a lot of the people can't afford much, you know? Yeah. So he started creating machines that were made for those individuals, which was smart. I mean, he's striking on a market. And his idea was, don't buy from China, buy from Brazil, buy from your home, buy from your home country. When was the last time that happened in the United States?
Well, I was going to say that. You travel a lot and you've been all around the world and stuff, and you've seen the cultural differences around the world.
Yeah.
And obviously you've tattooed people from all over the world.
Yeah.
What do you see? Where do you see the next big thing happening? Where it's going to go? Do you think it's somewhere like Brazil that's going to blow up?
Well, I think you're starting to see that now. I know what their issues seem to be. What I find from an outsider's perspective is the politics that are going on there now. Because no matter how you cut it, the politics is affecting everybody across the world. And Brazil is one of those places where they're afraid of even what's going to happen politically. You know what I mean? I think that you're already seeing more. It's like I remember my first trip to Australia. When I went there, I was not impressed by anything that was being done. There was a handful of artists that were fucking amazing in the country, but for the most part, it was crap. Facebook pops up, or MySpace, I don't remember which one it was. And within a year, the talent coming out of Australia was fucking insane. And now Australia is one of the biggest talent pools out there. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we're starting to see that with Brazil because it only takes, I can do the most amazing tattoo, most unique, incredible tattoo, put it on my phone, put it on Instagram. Within 30 seconds, somebody from China, from anywhere, will see it and do a better job within minutes, where before it took 3 months of a magazine.
So you have 3 months to make your mark.
Yeah.
And now you've got 30 seconds.
You've got 30 seconds. So how fucking insane is that? And again, part of it is because there's no originality. Nobody's going to look at that tattoo and be like, oh, that's Joe. I can't do that.
So does your stuff get ripped off a lot? And how do you feel about that?
It used to get ripped off, like incredible. Like to the point where like people come up to you at a convention and be like, oh, check it out. Like I remember Jimmy Litwalk showing me pictures of a rib panel that he had taken of a guy. And the guy literally took a sleeve that Jimmy did and just put it on his ribs. And the guy came up to Jimmy and was like, Jimmy, check it out. Jimmy Litwalk style. And Jimmy's like, no, that's a Jimmy Litwalk tattoo, motherfucker. Like you literally just took a tattoo and put it on somebody else. Yeah. And they just don't understand because they're just excited to be doing it. But again, part of it is nobody ever told them that's fucking wrong. Yeah. I mean, how many times growing up, when coming into this business, you never copied a tattoo? Now? Oh, no, you can copy that tattoo.
But there's no one telling anyone anything. because nobody needs to be told.
No, exactly.
It's awful. So what about tattoo education and schools and stuff like that? How do you feel about that?
I think it's a joke. Again, that's part of the reason things have gotten out of hand. Because with the tattoo school, they're going to do as little as they can for the most amount of money. You know what I mean? You can't tell me that going to a school is an actual apprenticeship because you're not in a shop. You're not dealing with the bullshit of a shop every fucking day. Yeah. You're being told how the shops supposedly work. You know as well as I do, they're all different. You know what I mean? Old school apprenticeships, yeah, they sucked. Mine wasn't terrible. I mean, it was kind of shit, but it wasn't that bad. You know what I mean? And some apprenticeships are horrible. You know what I mean? And I get it. It sucks. It also weeds out a lot of the bullshit. You know what I mean? Now, if you could just plunk down a couple of bucks and learn how to tattoo and act like you know better than everybody else, go fuck yourself because you don't have a goddamn clue. Yeah. You know, it's like you're not a rogue scholar now. Now you're just some fucking dude who went to college, has literally no life experiences, and you're going to tell me that you're better than somebody else because you went to school. Eat a dick. That's not how it works. That doesn't work in any aspect of life, let alone this business. Yeah. You know, so yeah, I think it's a load of shit. I think it's allowing people, it's creating this pool of artists that are clueless as to the way things are, which is why things change so dramatically. Now you can say, well, you're just fucking old and you don't want to see, progress. That's not fucking true. I would love to see progress, but I would like to see progress done at a pace that it doesn't just completely mow over everything that came before it and then fuck it all up for the future generations, or worse, for the old generations that can't keep up or are unwilling to keep up, or impossible to keep up with because of how things change dramatically. And I think that's a fair request. You know what I mean? But it's not up to individuals. It's going to be up to the fucking higher ups that are basically making the rules right now. We were talking about this with pigments before. It's got nothing to do with the safety of pigments. It's got to do with big companies coming in and wanting to take from the little guy. So they go out and buy it, or if they don't buy it, they just make it. And this isn't me being conspiratorial. It's the God's honest truth. They're either going to buy it and they're going to reproduce it themselves, or they're going to say, you can't do that because of this, that, and the other thing, whether it be because it's dangerous or whatever. And then they're going to go and create it and they're going to fucking jack up the fucking price and you'll have no fucking choice. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's fucked. And that's all because we let it get away from us.
Yeah. We allowed it to happen.
Yeah. Because things get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's no longer about tattooing. It's about somebody else trying to make money off of tattooing, that's the way of the world. That's everything.
So what's your future? What do you?
I wish I could tell you.
I mean, do you ever have a vision for the future, or do you just take it day by day?
Yeah, I'm taking it day by day, and that's the scary. I'll be honest, it frightens the living shit out of me. I have a shop that's very expensive. I have guys that work with me. I don't know. Granted, I want to have a better outlook on this fucking business, man, but it is fucking frightening. You know what I mean? It's like I had a friend, kind of a friend in my shop recently, and he's an artist, whatever. He hasn't really tattooed much anymore. And he's just like, so what are you going to do when you can't do this anymore? And I looked at him, I go, there's no can't do this anymore, dude. This is it. Like, I'm not like,
well, I'm not going I've already committed.
Yeah.
This is it.
And
I have no plan B.
And I think it cheapens that individual. It's like, dude, you used to be a tattooer too. You don't like the direction the business has gone. So instead of doing anything to do it, you just fucking rolled over and took it. And then you're acting like what you're doing now somehow makes you happier. Does it? You know what I mean? You could say it does, but we both know it's not really doing that. It's not filling your pockets. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that everything should be about money, but the fact is you need to make a certain amount of money to be happy. You know what I mean? So I just told him, I was like, dude, this is it. This is what I do. I mean, it's not just for money. I genuinely fucking love tattooing. I, for the most part, love the people who come into my shop. I love sitting with my clients and shooting the shit with them. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not just about money. So I think while I'm not, while I have no real plan and I don't have a great outlook on where it's going, I'm not planning on ditching it. You know what I mean? I have no other place to go with it. You know what I mean? If I can get more involved with helping steer things like I don't mean steer, that's not right, but making it easier for people to actually do something that makes sense for us and not follow the meta algorithm. You know what I mean? And have that decide what direction we go in. Yeah. You know what I mean? That would be nice. And I actually, me and a couple of friends are trying to do something along those lines, but whether or not actually works, we'll see. Yeah, I think it needs to be taken back. And it's got to be taken back by magazines. It's got to be taken back. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I don't think, seeing what Tony Ciavarro did and seeing the quality of the magazine, because that's the other thing too. Back in the day, magazines were shit. You know, I mean, way back in the day, you know?
Yeah.
They were horrible printing because they were the cheapest you can get for the most money. I mean, this is a beautiful fucking book, and it's something that you're not going to get rid of. I mean, I still have magazines from my articles from the, 95. You know what I mean? It's still sitting on the shelf, falling apart, but it's there, you know? And I think keepsakes like that need to stay, need to stick around. People need to stop cheapening. You know, like I still have a book collection. Everybody's like, why don't you get rid of your books? I'm like, why the fuck would I get rid of my books? Eventually, your phone is going to fucking run out of juice, or the fucking internet. I'm not going to say it's going to collapse, but it's going to get lost. You know what I mean?
But with so many coming in, with so much coming in all the time,
you're right.
Everything gets lost in time.
No, you're right. But the things that you choose to follow and collect, it makes it that much more exciting. It makes it that much more meaningful. Where
your book collection is a reflection of your personality. Isn't
Exactly.
It becomes, you've got books on cool cars, you've got books on cool art.
Exactly. It's like all the work we put on your walls.
Yeah, exactly. You fill your house with this stuff because that's
what you want to be surrounded by. That's what you want. That's what you recognize as being who you are, and that's what other people may recognize as being who you are. That's where your tastes lie. Yeah. You're not going to get that when you walk into a room wearing a phone with a fancy haircut. No. You know, that's trending with your tight jeans and your fucking fancy shoes. Yeah. That's not who you are. Yeah. You know what I mean? It may be who you are at the moment, but it's not going to be what sets you fucking up for the rest of your life.
But it's not going to keep you going forever.
Exactly.
So I think that's probably good for me. Is that good for you?
That's fine with me. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I can do.
I hope you enjoyed watching that, because I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed being there. And there was very little we had to cut out. We kept it as raw as we could. And just because the energy was fantastic, and removing anything from it really changed the energy of the video. But yeah, I do hope you enjoyed that, because I thought it was amazing. And it was a really fun experience. It was great sitting there watching somebody like Joe Capobianco talk about tattooing and realize that he's just like one of us. He's just a regular dude that loves tattooing and wants what's best for the tattoo industry. So it was awesome.